Now let's get into our hot matchups. Now, who's your hot matchup?
For my hot matchup was a team that you shitted on with the injuries. Jaden Daniels, Washington Commanders, going over and playing in Kansas City. I think that the Commanders might score a few times. I don't think the Chiefs are going to really dominate them, even with Mariota. He might have that one good game here for the season. That could be it. But I know the Chiefs for sure are going to want to put it on them because right now they're trying to prove to the league that they're the best team in the league. And the only way they can do that is by, start spanking some other teams on the way. So, bro, they're going to be running up the score, beating them, trying to humiliate them because right now they're a pissed off team that are looking to get revenge, man. And right now, to be honest, the NFL's up for taking because the Philadelphia Eagles just really don't have it right now, man. They don't have that same discipline that they need. So I'm hoping that BG Brandon Graham coming back does that for Philly, gives them that veteran leadership on the defensive side of the ball because that could really help us and Jalen Carter flourish. So regardless, I'm excited to see them play on Monday night. It's going to be a good game, and it's going to be some fireworks.
Yeah, I got to say, you were right about Mahomes. I did not have him. I had him just outside of my top 10 in preseason rankings at 11. And I know you were much higher on him. I was like, man, I got to see it again. Well, I saw it. He's amazing. He's got all his weapons back. I think that's going to be a really high scoring game because the Commanders are going to have to play catch up. I'm not exactly sure what's up with Debo and Terry McLaurin, but we know that Jaden Daniels is out and that their run game has been very inconsistent and the past games have been very inconsistent. But if it's a high scoring game, you can plug in your starters at wide receiver and be pretty confident that they're going to have a good floor because they're going to be playing catch up because the Chiefs are dominant right now.
Yeah, and I looked that up too. I went back to my 2025 preseason rankings, and I had Mahomes at number 6 for
Yeah,
quarterback.
I knew you had him much higher than I did, and I went back to check too last week because I was like, I don't think I had him inside of my top 10.
Yeah, he's doing better than expected, man. Josh Allen, obviously, he's been having ups and downs, right? And that's just a. I know that I had Josh Allen last year as well, and I traded him because I gave up on him early. Like he was having those ups and downs for the first, 8-9 weeks of the season, and I got rid of him finally.
He does that a lot. I did that a few years ago too. I got a little frustrated with him a couple weeks in a row, and I traded him, and it was a stupid trade. Uh, I think I actually had J.K. Dobbins in that trade, and he got hurt right after that too. So anyway, I feel like the guys, including your Eagles, I think they are disciplined enough where they're going to be fine rest of the season. And we've seen their pass game be up and down, but altogether, I think all three of those teams are going to be solid rest of the season. Now, for my hot matchup, I have the Cowboys versus the Broncos.
Ooh.
For the same reasons I discussed about the Cowboys in my hot matchup last week, they're solid again this week. They have the best offense and the worst defense. Statistically, they are at the absolute end of each spectrum, which is a perfect recipe for fantasy football. Dak, Javonte, CD, Pickens, Ferguson, start all of them, no questions asked. The Broncos have one of the best defenses in the league. I understand that, but it doesn't matter. You are starting those guys. They are lineup locks. And then the Broncos, they're a top 10 offense too. And up against the Cowboys defense, we should expect some of those numbers that we normally see to be inflated a little bit. And Bo Nix and Sutton, in my opinion, are locked in. And despite J.K. Dobbins having, not the greatest numbers the last couple of weeks, this should be a really good matchup for him and a bounce back week. And last week, he still had over 80 rushing yards. He just couldn't find the end zone. So I'm pretty high on him this week too. And even the other wide receivers like Troy Franklin, who actually had 10 targets and 13 fantasy points last week, and Marvin Mims, who had 7 targets and 16 fantasy points last week. I feel like during a bye week with all these injuries, you could plug them in, hope for the best, and you might get lucky with another double-digit fantasy week. And even Evan Ingram, he should give you a respectable floor at tight end this week.
Yeah, and somebody that I was definitely high on that I still have a positive outlook on. You touched on for the Broncos, RJ Harvey. You know, he's somebody that I think has all the skill set, right? He could pass, excuse me, he could catch out of the flat. He could run the ball. You know, he's had some good games when he's been featured, but he hasn't been featured all, as the primary back because obviously J.K. Dobbins has been excellent and efficient this year. So I'm hoping that they use him more in the future. But there was at the end of the day, the Cowboys are gonna do what they do and score points, and it's gonna be a fun matchup for sure.
And I think they will use RJ Harvey. I just don't know when. It might not be for another month.
Be patient.
He's not getting the touches, but yeah, I'd say be patient too, especially with Dobbins as your starter. He's got that injury history that makes you nervous.
Like James Conner, right? I say it every year.
Oh, that's true every year, yeah.
I know, right? You can say it every year for the last 5 years. To his credit, he's been healthy for the last two, right? Before
and when he is healthy, he's a stud.
Man, 25 points a game, brother. But now let's go ahead and get into the cold call of the week.
My cold call is the Browns versus the Patriots. Despite both teams scoring 31 points last week, I do not expect the same output this week. The Browns defense is firing on all cylinders and was incredible against Miami. Obviously, a game against the Dolphins is much easier than the Patriots, but they've been rock solid all year, and I expect them to show up again this week. And the Patriots defense is legit too. They're a borderline top 10, and they're going up against one of the worst offenses in the league. The Browns, I'm starting Quinshon Judkins, of course. Despite the Patriots having a top 3 run defense, I still feel like he's a lineup lock. It's just that you've got to lower your expectations when you're going against a team like the Patriots, who is top 3 against the run. And although last week was kind of disappointing, I might consider Fannin at tight end as well. It kind of depends on the Njoku and the tight end situation for you, but the Patriots have struggled a little bit against the pass, so he could be a good play. And for the Patriots, it's a little bit harder to gauge. They're a good football team, but as I mentioned last week, you don't know who's going to produce each game. So Drake May, I feel like he's proven himself as a lineup lock until we have reason to see otherwise. And despite the ups and downs every week, I'm probably going to start Diggs and Ramondre, but with a much lower ceiling because you're going against the Cleveland Browns. And I think Kayshon Boutte will be a disappointment. If you're expecting the points we've seen from him over the last couple of weeks, I would not be confident with him in my lineup really any week, but especially this week. And another guy that's similar to RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson. I thought he was going to take over the Patriots backfield by now, but we got to remember he is a rookie. It takes time. But I feel like he should be on your bench until we see something from him. And, the Patriots are committed to Ramondre. So,
Fumbleitis ass motherfucker.
I know, but they are going to continue feeding him. And Travion's just not getting the touches to have in your double flex. I wouldn't put him on. I'd put him on my bench.
I start him. I had injuries. I've had players that have been out, so I've been forced to put him in my flex. And Travion Henderson, man, I think he had a 0-point game last week or the week before. It was terrible. The Patriots are actually using him less than when they started. It's crazy.
It is crazy, yeah.
Now, Joe, for my cold call, I'm going to have to say Dolphins versus the Falcons. Now, hear me out. I know the Falcons have Bijan Robinson, and he is a must start. Drake London's a must start. I'm just concerned about the competitiveness of this game. The Dolphins are playing, and although I know Devin Achane is a must start, no one else on that offense is. Darren Waller was the last guy, and he just got put on IR. So you're not going to play anybody other than Achane. And all all the Falcons have to do is stop Achan. They have a great secondary, solid front four, so they're going to be able to maintain pressure. And I just don't think it's going to be a really good day for them. Falcons, on the other hand, going up against a terrible defense, they're going to put up their points. Those guys, I'm starting with confidence, but I'm keeping Mooney on the bench. I'm keeping Kyle Pitts on the bench unless you know don't have a better option, right? He should have been your backup, but it's just not a good game that I want to see. But like I said, if you have Bijan, you're probably gonna rake in 2 or 3 touchdowns.
I think that game depends a lot on what what the Falcons decide to do. If they just want to kick the teeth down the Miami Dolphins' throat and really put the pedal to the metal and keep their starters in the whole game, that could actually be, really good for Bijan, Drake London, and even Kyle Pitts. But if they decide to take a more reserved approach and they just get up by 3 scores and going into the second half, rest their starters, that's the only way I could see it really being a low scoring game. Otherwise, I feel like, it's going to be a really high scoring game because the Miami Dolphins are going to be down so big that they've got to play catch up. Maybe they get a couple scores and bring it back to a 1-score game, and then Bijan and Drake London continue to light it up. So I could see that going either direction, but it could just be a slaughter that ends up being like, between 30 and 40 total points.
I mean, honestly, I think Miami is not going to get more than 20 points for the game. I think they're going to get absolutely thrashed by the Falcons defense. I mean, the secondary, I talked about them, but they have some studs back there. And I think they're going to I don't think they're going to run up the score on Miami because why kick them while they're down? Everybody knows their shit. They're not, but it's different if you're playing like a good team, like the Buccaneers, the Eagles, right? Like the, Steelers, people that are running for the division, trying to take the division. Those are people that, teams that you run up the score on because those are the contenders, you know. But and typically those are games where you get to see what your young guys have. Hence what the Chiefs did.
Right.
So I expect the Falcons to kind of do the same. You're going to probably see some Algier love, by the second half there.
Hey, might be a sneaky play if you're in need with these injuries and bye weeks.
Flex only, guys, not
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
starter.
Of course.